I needed to get this shot in the foreground and in the background.
Okay, are we ready to go?
I'm ready to roll.
We use a Hochatown gavel. Dear shit. Okay, we're gonna call this meeting to order at 5:00 PM, 5:02. Roll call vote for quorum.
Okay, Janet Kress.
Here.
Howard Haggard.
Here.
Diane Jordan.
Here.
Todd McDaniel.
Here.
Chad Sargent.
Here.
Okay, we have a quorum.
Recognition of guests, much fewer than last time, but the diligent citizens return. Thank you very much. Consent docket, we will start having consent dockets every month just to get people used to the idea of all the things that there's not a lot of discussion on. So the only thing that we have this month for the consent will be the approval of the February 16th special meeting minutes. Are there any corrections to the minutes? You've all had a chance to review the
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Okay. Ask for a motion to approve the special meeting minutes of February 16th.
Make a motion, we accept.
Made a motion by Howard, second
Second
by Chad. Roll call vote, please, Madam Secretary.
A roll call vote to accept the February 16th special meeting minutes. Janet Kress.
Yes.
Howard Haggard.
Yes.
Diane Jordan.
Yes.
Todd McDaniel.
Yes.
Chad Sargent.
Yes.
The motion carries to approve the February 16th special meeting minutes.
Thank you. Item number 5, discussion, consideration, and possible action regarding items removed from the consent docket. We have no items removed, so there's nothing to discuss for item 5. Item 6, treasurer's report. Charles?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. If you don't take one of these, pass it down. So we believe we're gonna be able to get an account number, tomorrow. We were thinking we were gonna get it before 5 today, but, when I left the office, I had not received it yet. But Howard went and, talked to the bank to make sure they gave us at least an account number. They still may need some things in order for, the bank to approve of withdrawals, but we'd like to make some deposits, so. You have, right now, just a, profit and loss statement that, was printed from just QuickBooks. You can see that we've received, some donations, including for Mr. Kincaid and Broken Bowl Cabin Lodging, and the Burks for the library fund. I've separated this in 2 categories. One donation for general funds and the other specific funds or special donations. And that one check then from the Burks would be for the Sue Kincaid Library. So my understanding is we may have a few more checks that we can deposit a few more donations. So that should be available on next week's statement. As far as expenses are concerned, we may have a few, I think, several of the trustees, especially those that are going to sign checks, had to have bonds, and so those bonds are reimbursable, but when we get receipts and things from them, we will certainly present that to the board and get those costs reimbursed. I think that's all I have. That's very good.
Anything else on financial report?
I will just say that we're working on some money at the Capitol, hopefully through the tourism department. Nothing's done yet, but we have made some progress, and hopefully we'll be getting some funds through them, just basically to go to our general fund and operate.
Okay, good. I'll mention on the Burke's donation, if you remember just a couple of months ago when Sue Kincaid passed away, one of the original Hochatown people, a couple of her family members made donations to the town of Hochatown, and one of them was specifically to improve the library. So that's what that was for the Burkes. Thank you, Charles.
Absolutely.
Item, any corrections? Okay. Roll call vote to accept the treasurer's report. Do we have a motion?
Make a motion, we accept it.
Do we have a second?
I second.
Roll call vote from the clerk?
Yep, roll call vote to accept the treasurer's report. Janet Kress,
Yes.
Howard Haggard,
Yes.
Diane Jordan,
Yes.
Todd McDaniel,
Yes.
Chad Sargent.
Yes.
Motion carries to accept the treasurer's report.
Item number 7, discussion, consideration, and possible action to approve resolution number 1, calling for an election of the question of whether ordinance number 2023-03-0701, which would levy a lodging tax of 4%, should be approved with the effective date of April 1st, 2023, with the election to occur at a special town meeting to be held on March 23rd, 2023 at 5 p.m. As you guys know, in order to put things on the agenda, we have to put them on in advance of the meeting. We weren't sure we would have everything that we needed in time for this, and there's still a few little things that we'd like to make sure we have good definitions for before we do this. So I'm going to make a motion that we take no action on item number 7 for the resolution on lodging tax tonight. Any discussion?
I second that.
I need a motion first.
Need a
Motion.
Yeah. Any discussion? I got it out of order.
No discussion.
Okay, so now do we have a motion to take no action on resolution number 1?
I'll make a motion to take no action on resolution.
And then a second
I'll second.
by Chad. Okay.
Okay, we have a roll call vote to, take no action on resolution number 1. Janet Kress,
Yes.
Howard Haggard,
Yes.
Diane Jordan,
Yes.
Todd McDaniel,
Yes.
Chad Sargent.
Yes.
The motion carries to take no action on resolution number 1.
Hopefully we'll have everything we need by the end of the week, and if so, we'll simply call a special meeting for that. Okay, item number 8, very similar, discussion, consideration, and possible action to approve the ordinance, number 2023-030701, which would relate to the imposition of a town lodging tax. Any discussion on item number 8 for the ordinance regarding lodging tax? Any discussion?
Just for clarification, again, it's just some of the wording that we're concerned about.
Right, we wanna go over the
that we want
definitions of the words.
Some of the definitions that she's put in here,
Mhm,
so
yeah.
just make sure we're clear and everybody else is too, what's holding us up there, okay?
Okay,
And, hey, well, I don't know if we've said this, but the number that we're thinking is 4%.
Yes.
We said, I didn't know what people,
Yeah.
4% is the lodging tax that we're considering.
do we have a motion to take no action on the ordinance
I'll make a motion, we take no action on number 8, the ordinance
for lodging tax?
for lodging tax 223030701.
Do we have a second?
Second motion.
Roll call vote from the clerk?
We'll have a roll call vote to take no action on ordinance 2023-03-0701 regarding the imposition of lodging tax. Janet Kress,
Yes.
Howard Haggard,
Yes.
Diane Jordan,
Yes.
Todd McDaniel,
Yes.
Chad Sargent.
Yes.
Okay, the motion carries to take no action on ordinance 2023-03-0701 regarding the imposition of town lodging tax.
Item number 9, discussion, consideration, and possible action to approve the emergency clause of the same ordinance, 2023-03-0701. Is there any discussion for the emergency clause of the ordinance? Hearing none, do we have a motion to take no action on approving the emergency clause for the ordinance?
I'll make a motion, we take no action on Number 9, the emergency clause of the ordinance 2023-03-07-01.
Second?
A second.
Okay, we have a roll call vote to take no action on the emergency clause of ordinance 2023-03-07-01. Janet Kress,
Yes.
Howard Haggard,
Yes.
Diane Jordan,
Yes.
Todd McDaniel,
Yes.
Chad Sargent.
Yes.
Okay, the motion carries to take no action on the emergency clause of ordinance 2023-03-07-01.
Item number 10, discussion, consideration, and possible action to approve resolution number 2, calling for the election for the purpose of submitting to the registered qualified electors of the said town the question of approval or rejection of ordinance number 2023-03-07-02, levying a 3% excise tax, same as sales tax, in addition to all present town, county, and state excise taxes for the use and benefit of the town of Hochatown for general government purposes, as more specifically set out in the ordinance number 2023-03-07-02 of said town, shall it be approved and go into effect on July 1st, 2023, with the election to occur at a special town meeting to be held on March 23rd, 2023 at 5 p.m. Any discussion on possible action for a resolution on a sales tax?
Is there any wording in there that we're concerned about?
I'd like to have it reviewed.
I would just say that if we should do them at the same time.
I think doing them at the same time is a good idea.
And it would be nice to have clarity on the excise and sales tax.
Right. And I think we can still get this done and meet our March 23rd deadline that we want to hit. But it'd be nice to just have a couple more days to review things. Any other discussion?
Absolutely.
Do we have a motion to take no action on resolution number 2, calling for excise tax?
I make a motion, we take no action on ordinance number 2, calling for excise tax.
Motion by Todd, do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Roll call vote from the clerk.
Okay, we have a roll call vote to take no action on resolution number 2, calling for the election of a excise tax. Janet Kress,
Yes.
Howard Haggard,
Yes.
Diane Jordan,
Yes.
Todd McDaniel,
Yes.
Chad Sargent.
Yes.
The motion carries to take no action to approve resolution number 2, calling for an election for the excise tax.
Item number 11, discussion, consideration, and possible action to approve ordinance number 2023-03-0702 relating to the imposition of the town excise tax, sales tax of 3% in addition to any and all other excise taxes now in force to be levied upon the gross proceeds or gross receipts derived from all sales within the municipal boundaries taxable under the Oklahoma Sales Tax Code, providing for the use of the proceeds of said excise tax for general governmental purposes, providing for the effective date, providing that the ordinance shall remain in effect indefinitely and until lawfully amended, modified, or repealed, providing for no repeal of tax, providing for payment of tax, providing that the tax is in addition to taxes currently levied, providing that the provisions of this ordinance are cumulative and in addition to any and all taxing provisions of other town ordinances. Is there any discussion on passing the ordinance for excise and sales tax?
Again, same wording, clarification.
Wording and clarification, okay? Do we have a motion to take no action on ordinance number 2023-03-0702 relating to the town excise and sales tax?
I make a motion, we take no action on 2023-03-0702.
Do we have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Roll call vote by the clerk.
Okay, we have a roll call vote to take no action on ordinance 2023-03-0702 relating to the imposition of a town excise tax. Janet Kress,
Yes.
Howard Haggard,
Yes.
Diane Jordan,
Yes.
Todd McDaniel,
Yes.
Chad Sargent.
Yes.
The motion carries to take no action on ordinance 2023-03-0702 to impose a town excise tax.
Howard, it kinda feels like we're in school with roll call every day, doesn't it? Some things never leave you, it goes on and on. All right, item number 12, discussion, consideration, and possible action to approve the emergency clause for ordinance number 2023-030702. Any discussion?
No.
Okay. Do we have a motion to table the emergency clause?
I make a motion that we take no action on the emergency clause of ordinance number 23030702.
Do we have a second?
I second it.
Roll call vote, Madam Clerk.
Okay, we have a roll call vote to take no action on the emergency clause of ordinance number 2023-030702. Janet Kress,
Yes.
Howard Haggard,
Yes.
Diane Jordan,
Yes.
Todd McDaniel,
Yes.
Chad Sargent.
Yes.
Okay, the motion carries to take no action on the emergency clause of ordinance 2023-030702.
Item number 13, discussion, consideration, and possible action to approve the notice of special meeting and election, setting an election to occur at a special town meeting to be held on Thursday, March 23rd, 2023, at 5:00 p.m. for the purpose of enacting an excise tax on lodging and for the purpose of enacting an excise sales tax upon the gross proceeds, or gross receipts derived from all sales within the municipal boundaries, which are taxable under the Oklahoma sales tax. Do we have any discussion on holding the special meeting for the election?
Should we do that?
I think we need to wait and
Just do
we'll just have a special
Yeah.
meeting when we think that we have our
everything.
ballot
Well,
in order.
Like you said, I think we can still
We'll still make our deadline.
shoot for the.
We'll still shoot for the
23rd.
23rd, okay?
But to make sure, it would be better to.
But if we post the notice ahead of time and then we don't make it, then we gotta go
Yeah.
probably do another one, okay? All right. If there's no other discussion, do we have a motion to take no action on posting a notice of a special meeting at this time?
Make a motion, we take no action in the special meeting.
Okay,
I second.
Jasmine's, okay.
Check.
Roll call vote?
Yeah.
Second. Okay, we have a roll call vote to take no action on the notice of special meeting and election. Janet Kress,
Yes.
Howard Haggard,
Yes.
Diane Jordan,
Yes.
Todd McDaniel,
Yes.
Chad Sargent.
Yes.
The motion carries to take no action for the special meeting and election.
All right, item number 14, we're ready to get down to some business now.
Here we go.
Okay, item 14, discussion, consideration, and possible action to approve resolution number 3, calling for elections to occur at the biennial town meeting on April 4th, 2023, for the purposes of electing officers, including trustees, clerk, and treasurer of the town of Hochatown, Oklahoma, establishing the date for said election. Do we have any discussion?
I'm good with it.
What this resolution does is call for the election, because as everybody remembers, we are currently interim. We've only been in office for a few months, and now we will go on the regular calendar as the rest of the state for municipal elections. So, once we have this election on April 4th, we'll be caught up. And every 2 years,
Yeah,
we'll have an election.
And also the trustees.
We'll be on
will-
alternate
on
schedules.
a rotation, a 4-year.
A 4-year
Rotation.
rotation. And every 2 years, either 2 go off or 3 go off. Okay, do we have a motion to approve resolution number 3, calling for the election of the town meeting on April the 4th, 2023, for the purpose of electing officers?
I make a motion, we approve resolution number 3.
I second that motion.
Okay, motion by Todd, seconded by Chad. Roll call vote. Clerk?
Okay, we have a roll call vote to approve resolution number 3, calling for elections to occur at the biennial town meeting on April 4th. Janet Kress,
Yes.
Howard Haggard,
Yes.
Diane Jordan,
Yes.
Todd McDaniel,
Yes.
Chad Sargent.
Yes.
Okay, we have a motion carries to approve resolution 3, calling for elections to occur at the biennial town meeting on April 4th.
Okay, item number 15, discussion, consideration, and possible action to approve the notice of biennial town meeting and election, setting the biennial town meeting and elections to occur on April 4th, 2023, for the purpose of electing officers, including trustees, clerk, and treasurer of the town of Hochatown. Is there any discussion to approve the notice? Hearing none, do we have a motion to approve the notice of the meeting?
I'll make a motion to approve the notice of the meeting.
Okay.
I
Motion
second
by
it.
Todd, second by Chad. Roll call vote, Ms. Helen?
We have a roll call vote to approve the notice of biennial town meeting and election, setting the town meeting to occur on April 4th, 2023. Janet Kress. Yes. Howard Haggard.
Yes?
Diane Jordan.
Yes.
Todd McDaniel.
Yes.
Chad Sargent.
Yes.
Okay, the motion carries to approve the notice of biennial town meeting and election, setting the biennial town meeting to occur on April 4th, 2023.
Okay, we'll see everybody April 4th. Okay, item number 16, discussion, consideration, and possible action to establish bond requirements for all trustees and treasurer and any officer or employee designated by ordinance to sign municipal warrants or municipal checks pursuant to Title 11, Section 805. Howard, do you want to have a discussion about this?
Yeah. Been a lot of discussion and a lot of confusion so far. Every elected official in the state of Oklahoma must be bonded, period. That's state statutes. Depending on the level of that office and it's in the state statute somewhere. Charles and I both have been searching, but it is a mandatory thing that every elected official must be bonded. The bank does not require a bond for signature on the check. Asked for that a dozen times, it is not there that we need that bond. The bond that is required is to protect our citizens of Hochatown. Keep us from stealing money, from fraud, whatever it is, that's our guarantee to our constituents. We're not gonna lie, cheat, chill, defraud our citizens. The customary bond is a $10,000 bond. That can be had for a $100 bill, and it's good for 1 year. There's several of us that have already got that bond that I'm aware of. Charles has got it, I've got it, Janet's got it. Did you get yours? Okay. Easy enough to do. Go online, show you how to do it. Those bonds do not have to be registered with the county. It goes to the municipality that is the beneficiary. Hochatown is the beneficiary. Our citizens are the beneficiary of that bond. So the only place, they have to be notarized. I've got mine down there. They've got to be notarized and given to our clerk, and she holds them in security. That's as far as they have to go.
I was talking to Liz, and she agreed that it was just probably the best idea that we have a municipal bond that covers everybody for that.
There's a, I don't know, I guess you can have one bond that would cover it all, make sure that everybody understands there's a difference between a personal bond for us and the city of Hochatown insurance that we've got to cover later. That will cover us from protection of two. But this is a personal bond strictly for the citizens of Hochatown. That's all that personal bond is.
And I work with OMAG, and the insurance at this point would be about $1,000 a year for the city. As we start having more income and more things, then that's gonna go up, but for right now, it's like $1,000 a year for our insurance.
That's city insurance.
For the municipality,
Right.
yes.
Okay.
What's that cover up to? Diane?
I don't know yet, because they needed some more information, you know, like our incorporation
Okay.
paper. So, is there any other discussion? Do we want to move forward with the bonds?
I think we have already approved in prior meetings, the treasurer's bonds and the ones that are.
The signatures.
As signatories,
Right.
signatories, we have already approved. The four of us that are on signature for the bank, that has been approved, and that's the reason we've got it. We just need the rest of the three of you to go online and get a bond, and then get all seven of them posted with us. And that bond does include clerk. Any elected official in the state of Oklahoma must be bonded.
So, do we have action to establish our bond requirements for all the trustees and elected officials?
I make a motion, we, accept the bond and set it at $10,000.
Motion by Hammer, do we have a
I
second?
second that.
Aye. Roll call vote from Helen?
And we have a roll call vote to establish a bond requirement for the trustees at $10,000. Janet Kress,
Yes.
Howard Haggard,
Yes.
Diane Jordan,
Yes.
Todd McDaniel,
Yes.
Chad Sargent.
Yes.
And motion carries to establish bond requirements at $10,000 for the trustees.
Howard, are you and Charles gonna work on that, the details of that, to give you all that information for you?
Yeah, I can certainly afford it by as far as the city insurance or.
Well, because that goes with the
Or
bonds,
With
yeah.
the bond, okay.
Okay,
yeah,
all right.
yeah.
Okay, item number 17, discussion only regarding community engagement, a temporary website. We thought a logo contest would be cool. Chad, you been working on that?
Yeah, we've got, we've made some progress, so it looks like, thanks to, Skip and Shelley Copeland from Hochatown Network, we've got a website ready to go Friday, we'll be launching. So, that'll get the ball rolling for us to add everything from contact information to transportation information, agendas, our current HBOT approved minutes. So that website will be live and we'll just progressively improve it as time moves forward, and it'll be .org, Hochatown.org, but then as we get into July, once we get a federal government domain approved, then it'll switch over to .gov. So that's good news. So Friday we'll have a website, and hopefully we'll move that into having a active social media presence as well. You know, right now we're kind of using a multitude of avenues on social media, which have been good, but we'll have our own page and have pretty much the same type of information on it as we move. But website's a big move, so we've got that done. Thanks to Shelley and Skip Copeland for that.
Well, it'd be great to have it formalized instead of having to run through 500 posts and the general
Yes.
social media accounts, so, and have it limited to only Hochatown business.
And then we'll also have, we've got this logo design contest that we've all kind of come up with. That'll be, I think it's gonna be exciting if we can get the word out and get people involved in it. It'll have, there's, all this information will be on the website Friday. So,
I was fixing to ask you how we're gonna communicate that.
yeah, so we're gonna have it on the website Friday, and then of course we can push it out on social media. But I think the more active, participation that we can get will come from getting the word out and for people knowing that, you know, we're doing this. I think this is a great move to, you know, to just get the community involved. And so maybe we'll come up with something really special and, you know, and maybe have one or two people involved, because the the logo could actually end up being from a multitude of ideas. And so it'll all be owned by Hochatown once it's, you know, done and once we choose. But we just thought that'd be a great idea, because it has been it's a interesting process to design a logo. And so this was an idea to get the community involved. So I think it'll be good. And that'll be launched with Friday on the website. I like it. Yeah, me too.
Communication, good, moving up. Okay, item number 18, discussion only regarding community engagement. Howard's been in charge of community engagement.
Community engagement, letting our neighbors in the county know who we are and what we are and where we're at. Taking part in their community too. This means their board meetings, their council meetings. If we're gonna be a part of this community or this part of McCurtain County, they need to know we're here. Only way I think we can do that is for each of us as trustees to take an active part and volunteer, start going to some meetings. I put together a list. It's not a complete list. of, I'll give you one call. Of, board meetings, city council meetings. As everybody is aware, our McCurtain County Board of our County Commissioners, they meet every Monday morning at 9 o'clock. I've committed to make as many of those as I can. I'm not gonna guarantee you I'll make them all, but I've committed to I made them one, yesterday. Had several items on the agenda that, or one of them in particular that, caught everybody's attention on public media, was the 45 mile an hour on all entries into McCurtain County. Boy, that threw up a red flag, so. To clarify that is county roads only. That is not, has nothing to do, they have to work with ODOT, but it has nothing to do with the state lines or the state roads at all. That is the county roads only that enter McCurtain County. And if you think about it, there's really not that many of them, but that's what that was all about, so. Had nothing to do with our tourists coming into McCurtain County, okay? Like I said, they meet every Monday morning at 9 o'clock. Idabel, City Council, they meet the first and the third Tuesday of each month. Everything is a Tuesdays, gonna run into conflicts. They meet at 5 o'clock. I am definitely gonna make the next meeting of that. Broken Bow City Council meets the third Tuesday of each month at 4:30. Right here in our own little community, Hochatown Volunteer Fire Department, they have board meetings, second Tuesday of each month at 7 o'clock. I made the last one, I'll definitely make the next one. I think there's some things we talked about, about certain certification and inviting them to our certification in May, so I'll extend that invitation. And also our water board right here in our community. They meet the second Tuesday of each month at 4 o'clock. They're our water, they're our sole life. Need to find out about Choctaw Electric, but we definitely need to let the water board know that we're here and part of them, and want to be an active part of them and them in our community. So, especially the fiasco we had last when it froze out and run no water. But if we don't have to take any action, we can figure out volunteers now or later. Just take a look at it and see what you can commit to. You don't have to commit to all of them, but I think we need to, as a group of trustees, we need to get active in the rest of our county.
I encourage all citizens to attend.
Yes, not just us.
Public meetings.
Just-
I have one I'd like to add to this list if
Yes,
anyone
sir.
knows it, and that's the MCTA.
Mhm.
Do we know like a meeting time for
When you say him,
McCurtain County Tourism Authority.
Or do they meet
No.
at a certain?
Yes, they do.
Yeah, and in fact, their April meeting is when they do their annual grants that they've always turned Hochatown down for, but
Do
we
we?
can never stop applying. Can we ask the audience for some input? Do
Anybody
we know the
know when
dates?
they meet,
Skip,
or-
do you know?
I don't know. I don't know what day it is.
He's been attending the meetings, so.
Okay.
Yeah, but I just always alerted to it, so
okay.
I can get that information for you, but my phone's
We can
currently
probably,
in use
we can
right
probably
now.
Google it. Get your
If they
phone
say
out
we
of
can-
it.
Well, it would be nice to, we could also put
Right,
these
this
meetings
is
on.
just, this is minimum, I mean, this
Right.
can expand probably more than we could cover.
Right. Well, we also need to cover hospital meetings, we need to cover the Caddo meetings,
County waste, the trash.
the solid waste meetings.
That was brought up in commissioners meeting, they just approved or didn't approve it, they're waiting on, clarification of bids, $200,000 billing, for the solid waste collection over there on, 259 going in Idabel, so.
Well, I'm curious, as we move forward, once we have, some established help from the community and we add, particular individuals to some of these committees, can those individuals attend as well?
Sure.
Or is it-
Absolutely. Let's just say, these are all public meetings, just like ours. We invite everybody to attend.
And that
All
would
of these are-
allow, more
Everybody's allowed to
opportunity.
attend a
Yeah.
public meeting.
This says the next MCTA meeting is March 21st.
At 10 a.m.?
It doesn't give the time, it just says dates.
Yeah.
March 21st?
Yes, 10 a.m.
Okay. At the Broken Bow Chamber office.
Yes.
Okay, so hopefully somebody can go to that one.
And then, And the only other meeting it has is a special grant proposal meeting on May 16th. It doesn't have anything listed.
Oh, it's May 16th instead of April this year. Okay.
Yeah, no problem, probably do it that way.
Helen didn't have
Yeah.
one.
I'm sorry, I left her.
We'll continue to update our community meetings. Okay. And that also includes, you know, regional and state also. You know, like I said, Caddo is regional, but they have a lot to do with our volunteer fire departments. And so we have two McCurtain County Board of County Commissioners that serve on their board. So we definitely want to be involved in that. That's where the community development block grants come from. Okay, anything else on?
I'm talking about.
All right, well, Howard got busy this month, so thank you for everything that you did. You ran up and down the highway a bunch. Okay, item 19, discussion only regarding the safety and communications update from Janet. I think we're really gonna have some real information pretty soon on meetings.
Yes.
What do you got?
Well, first of all, I've got several topics. First one is CERT training, which is the Community Emergency Response Training. It's done by the Oklahoma Department of Emergency Management and Homeland Security. We have it set up for May 20th to 24th. It's a 20-hour program, and they will certify a class less than 30 people. It could also include CPR. Now, CERT training is to give people the decision-making, organizational, and practical skills to offer immediate assistance to family members, neighbors, and associates while waiting for help. Okay? And if we could get 30 people in Hochatown to get involved in this program, it would be great.
When's the date?
May 22nd through the 24th, here.
Where at?
It's 2 8-hour days and then a half a day.
Right.
Where's it gonna be at?
Right now, we haven't decided,
Okay.
but
Depends on how much space we need.
we're gonna need a lot of space.
It'll be here.
You can- That's what's up.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
now the idea behind CERT training is, Charles is gonna get certified, he's gonna go to the class. Charles lives on the south end of Hochatown. Someone on the north end, like, what's his name, Tom Peel, who is on the fire department, if he's certified. Say we have an emergency and we have a traffic jam out here and no one can go, but it's on the south end of town, Charles could go, you know? So the ideal is to get a lot of people involved. Dustin said that he would do it, Dustin Queering lives down on Beavers Bend Road. And if we have somebody at every location, Kyle, it'd be a good one for you to be involved. Something major happened and you're there to help while waiting on the professionals. So you don't have to, you know, don't think you have to go out there and know how to do it all, you don't. You're just there to learn emergency procedures to help.
We could probably get a few.
Possibly, we can do CPR also, and that's a decision as we get together and we decide, which will probably make the meeting go to 3 8-hour, 3 days, not a day and a half, 2.5. So that's kind of ideal. We hope we can pull this off. We're already talking to the fire department. There's some, I think some have their certification, some don't. There also was on their agenda about discussing about CERT training. So we don't want to double dip either, unless we need to. I mean, if we can get, it'd be all right for me if we had 60 people in Hochatown trained to be able to assist people in need, that would be fine. So I'm working on that right now. Also, her name is Tracy Bender, and there is a communication lead program that is involved with CERT. Because one of my things is, who is certified in Hochatown? And I can't get an answer from anybody. There's not a master list of who already has their certification now. If there is, I'm still working on it. I'm working with Cody McDaniels, who is our county emergency management director, to see if we can get that master list of who is certified already. So, and then there will be a communication program that Tracy is gonna help me set up so that we can communicate through whatever source it is that she has. So we're gonna working on that. The second thing on my list is I've been working with Don Cook, who is with the wildlife, preparation plan for Hochatown, the evacuation routes that I talked about last week. And while he was working on that, he discovered that our Communication Wildlife Protection Plan, CWPP, needs to be updated. And it needs to be updated before soon. It was last updated in 2011, and that was quite a while ago, and it was updated by guess who? Dennis Jordan and Terry Walker. That was a long time ago, okay? The plan actually needs to be updated every 3 to 5 years, so we're way behind. So it's kind of a gigantic need that we need to do, because without the plan in place and updated, we could actually lose funding. We could actually, we could lose a lot of things that we need to have because we're too far behind. So we have to catch up. The plan, here's the part of the plan. So, I panicked. I called Howard and said, Howard, help, I cannot do this and run 2 jobs. So Howard's gonna help me with this, and we're gonna pull this thing together. Now, I talked to Aaron Williams, who sent me this plan, and he's the one that's gonna help us with this plan, and he is the hazardous coordinator for the Oklahoma Department of Agriculture, Food, and Forestry. He sent me a copy of the plans. He's gonna guide us through all the updates. There's lots of samples, and also includes grant applications and a fixable template that we fill out. Now, Aaron is gonna come down and visit with us, Harold, in April or May, and help us kind of get going on it and kind of give us a training class and the whole thing. So, and I'm gonna let him set the date. So,
Give us plenty of time for me to read it on.
yep, yep.
Well, the good thing is we don't have to do all of this ourselves. I mean, there are professionals that do
Mhm.
this, and they're willing, they'll want to help us. I mean, that's the good thing. So far, everybody has agreed they want to help.
Yes.
So,
The other people I've been talking to is, of course, Choctaw Nation, Thrasher. He's the Oklahoma Emergency Coordinator, and we're gonna be setting up a date with him in April to sit down and visit with him about the full scope of the emergency guidelines that they have at Choctaw casinos, and he'll introduce all of that to us. They do have tornado sirens and all that fancy stuff. So, we'll set up this, and as we set up these meetings, we'll try to pull in, you know, all the right players, like fire department and those type of people, everybody that needs to be involved. Now, the other thing is Thursday at 1 o'clock, we have the Oklahoma LP Gas Administrator and the State Fire Marshal, the Assistant State Fire Marshal is gonna be here for our town hall meeting that we have. Say it again. Special quorum meeting, so that we can all sit at the table together. And the meeting was set up because of the recent inspection at many cabins by the Safety Code Enforcement Officer that visited our area. Violation for small bottle hookups to our grills, and violation for the 250-gallon tanks. Mostly because those tanks, some of them were too close to septic systems. And, he'll address with us all of those codes, kind of walk us through what we need to do. And we've invited, we've got 2 builders coming, 2 plumbers coming, 3 plumbers, counting Howard. And, hopefully, we've got seating for 50 people, thanks to Dennis. He's gonna let borrow chairs from the venue. And,
This is at town hall.
at town hall, on Thursday at 1 o'clock.
I'll need to clean up.
I checked with him today, and we're all on board for this meeting.
and that'll be posted.
Yeah.
That's it.
It'll be, like, we haven't done anything this month, just saying. You can now find Town Hall because Paul and Tara Stewart donated a huge fluorescent sign that says Town Hall right above the door.
Really?
So, in case you were lost, now you know where we're at. Stevens Gap Restaurant. Okay, any more discussion on our safety and communications? I know that some of us couldn't get here today because a truck took out the traffic light at 259A Dam Road, and our former fire chief happened to be there and was having to direct traffic over a one-lane bridge as 2 lanes of traffic tried to go. So we appreciate our citizens who can jump out in the middle of the road and help at the last minute until real help arrives, as we called it.
That's right.
So thank you, Chief Peg. All right. Okay, discussion on the library. They're waiting for their board to sign the agreement. They came and looked at our space. They love it. They're really excited about what they can do for our community. As I remind people, it's not just about the books, it's about the services that they provide. One of them, and your property tax does pay $4 million for this. So we were already paying for a library for decades now that we were not getting any benefit from. The nearest library is 10 miles away. So what they will give us, I'm calling them a hotspot, that might not be the techie term for it. So they will have free Wi-Fi there in our office for people to come in and check their email. They'll have some computers there for people, and we will have 5 additional spots throughout town. So we can pick something from the south, something from the middle, something on the north end, where people can log into the library website if they need to get online. So that'll be a free benefit, you know, eat hot dogs and check their Google.
I guess those 5 spots will.
Yeah, we gotta figure out where those
that'll
ought to be,
that'll neat.
you know, but a place where the tourists hang out or where residents hang out
Yeah.
and want access, so that'll be good. And they take care of it, if it's not working, we call them, we don't have to like figure it
Yeah,
out
that's great.
ourselves, you know, my husband's my IT guy, he's not always thrilled, the pay's not good either. All right, so that's kinda it for the library. Again, we mentioned it, Treasurer, we had one donation, as a memorial to Miss Sue, to do some benefit for the library, we'll buy some history books or something. Okay, item number 21, discussion, consideration, and possible action regarding road improvements. Todd, you got any new news or?
Well, just, I'll start off with, I've been talking with Anthony from ODOT, and he is getting over some wording to help us with the resolution that we can hopefully, put on the agenda and vote on to let them start work on, 259A, between 259A South and 259A North.
And I have that resolution now, so we just need to get it on our agenda and we'll be able to do that.
And then, as far as actual maintenance or improvement to roads within Hochatown, it's all, we've discussed ideas, the best way to improve those roads, the cheapest way, but until we get a budget, we're kinda we really don't, we can't put anything down for sure. And then as far as the loop around Hochatown that we've discussed in previous meetings, we're still waiting on one of the key players to let us know, where they stand, which is Weyerhaeuser. But there are meetings happening this month that should get us the information we want, and by the end of this month, we should have a lot better idea of if that's actually could happen.
Okay.
Great.
The other thing I would add is, I know that Chad's been serving, about 2 years now on the Highway 259, whether it's 3-lane, 5-lane, a combination of that. So Anthony has left us some beautiful color maps at the Hochatown office if you wanna come by and see, but every business on 259 is actually identified, and then it's color coded what a 3-lane looks like and what a 5-lane looks like and what their right-of-way and easement looks like. And Anthony and David Aller have both agreed to, we'll set some times where they can come by the hall. People can, get a cup of coffee and look at the map and see what it looks like, and they can answer questions. So we'll start setting that up, but the maps are there anytime. And Lynn and Greg Glasshouser have agreed to, keep the office open 15 hours a week, and so we can start posting when they're gonna be open. And then if anybody else wants to volunteer to sit down there a couple hours or a half a day so people can come in. Hopefully on our website we can have a little chart so people will know when the office is open. Right now it's when you call us, we run down there, because we don't have any paid staff yet. So anyway, maps of the roads are at the office if people wanna look at them. Anything else on roads?
One more input,
Yeah.
Todd, and just to explain a little bit more on our inner roads, our gravel roads, that everybody's concerned about, me included. By law, The county is still responsible for those because of our population. So don't hesitate, don't be bashful going down there and knocking on your commissioner's door and talking to him. Let him know. The more people go, the more pressure we put on him and the faster he'll get here. I was surprised the last time I talked to him, to find out he has 6 road graders at his disposal. I hadn't found out yet where he keeps them all. He is responsible from Little River just past Smithville, so he's got a huge area. And all the way to Arkansas border, he's got a huge area, right up almost to the line of Vegas. But anyway, he's having some personnel problems. Everybody cut down on people, can't hire anybody else to replace their one grader operator that's trying to retire. So, but anyway, he is committed to try to put a grader up here at least twice a week. We don't know, at least 2 days a week. I've seen him up here. I wished he would contact us to let us know what roads he's gonna work on so we can communicate to y'all. I haven't got him to commit to that yet.
He has
But
picked up the map, so he can see what,
Yes,
yeah, so he's
yes,
got the map to
yes,
help communicate
yeah.
with us which roads are getting
So
graded.
what he's gonna grade and what day he's gonna do it, so. But like I said, keep working and don't be bashful to go down there and talk to your commissioner. He's a good guy, he wants to be good, he's under a lot of pressure too. So be nice to him, but let him know your concerns.
He's got one road grader
And 6
and 6 machines.
machines.
Yeah, or you got 1 operator and 6 machines.
Well, if he just leave that up here, we got
I'm fine
nighttime
operating.
operators that'll take it. We got nighttime operators, I'm just
And
saying.
then you get into liability.
Oh, I didn't say that.
I didn't do that. But anyway, if I knew where it was and have a key.
Well, so
I
hopefully we
didn't
can
say
work with
that.
him, and that's where we have opportunity for collaboration, you know, maybe we
That's
can
right.
pay for the grader to, you know,
And once we
without
get
us
some,
having to buy
once
a
we
grader.
get some funding and get a budget, that I promise you, that is my #1 goal. We're gonna figure out some way to grade roads, whether it's the county or us.
Right.
Promise.
And it sounded like yesterday in the county commissioners meeting, there's plenty of money to buy more road graders. They just got new road
Yeah,
graders in
they
other
just
districts.
requested, Beck is his name, but what's his first name?
Robert Beck.
Robert Beck, over in
District
Bagley,
3.
the new one, District 3. Just took over that district. Part of the agenda yesterday was the approval to go lease, to turn in 5 graders and lease 5 brand new graders,
Brand new.
brand new.
How many operators does District 3 have?
He didn't say that, and I didn't ask.
That was just for District 3.
That's just for District 3.
Yeah.
Don't know how many Jennings got, he wouldn't say. Anyway,
Okay, anything else about roads? We're all working on roads, we're looking on dispersal roads, we're looking at 259 road, and we're looking at Cabin Road, so there's a lot of road to talk about, alright? Okay, we're not taking any action on road improvements, is that right? Todd, this is your?
Yes, no action.
Okay, so a roll call vote to take no action on roads.
We have a roll call vote to take no action on roads. Janet Kress.
Yes.
Howard Haggard.
yes.
Diane Jordan.
Yes.
Todd McDaniel.
Yes.
Chad Sargent.
Yes.
Motion carries to take no action on road improvements.
Okay, so we've got 2 more items on the agenda. The last one is to adjourn, but item number 22 is one of the other things is we've been calling every source that we can think of on both sides of the Red River to help us with their expertise. And boy, have we found some great people. So George Purefoy had a family situation and he's not able to join us, but he was the town manager, city manager of Frisco, Texas for 36 years and worked all that infrastructure growth in Frisco. So he has great ideas of what we need. And so he was gonna talk to us tonight about some of those. In his cohort, he was the mayor of Frisco and his first name is Mayor Meso. So we call him Mayor. And he also understands a lot about taxing and infrastructure and engineering. And if we want water, sewer, and roads, you kind of have to have all of those engineers at the same table at the same time, because we can't expand the road and then 6 months later say, hey, let's put a commercial sewer line through here. So we were gonna have Mr. Meso come up and just kind of give us a talk about what happened in Frisco and what he sees for Hochatown. Mr. Mayor, the floor is yours.
Have a seat.
I can stand in front of you, I can be up here. How about I stand? I'll stand.
Yeah,
You
stand.
sit here, yeah. It's a pleasure, Mayor, the trustees, thank you for having me. Everyone out there, thanks for being here. Well, what an exciting time for y'all, that's all I have to say. I mean, you're building.
This is exciting, excuse me, wait a minute.
It is exciting, look, I did this.
It is.
I was on council, mayor for 16 years, and my current role is economic development, site selection, helping towns grow. And what you're doing here is you're setting the foundation forever. I mean, you're in the moment, and sometimes you don't look up, but what you're building here is going to last a lifetime of Hochatown. I'm going to give you a quick story of Frisco, and each town, each city is different, whether they're Texas or Oklahoma or anywhere in the country. As part of the U.S. Council of Mayors, and we work together. And there's many moving parts, as you all are learning pretty quickly, of what comes first, right? The biggest lesson I would tell you, and the way we approached it in our city, is to always remind ourselves that a city or a town is forever, right? You buy a home, not moving 5 years, 6 years. What you're doing here is forever, and the ramifications can be forever. And I'll give you a quick example. Detroit went bankrupt a few years ago, the city of Detroit, Michigan. They really went bankrupt 40 years ago, they just didn't know it till a couple of years ago for the decisions they made. So, we sometimes get caught in the moment, and the moment's very important, having roads and public safety and all that goes with it. But the reality is, this is not a race. It really is not a race. It's much harder to unwind a quick bad decision than it is to wait and do it correctly and take your time. And I'm very proud of you all tonight. I saw that. You tabled or put off a lot of decisions because you don't have all the details. It's much harder if you made a decision and you find out later that was incorrect in one form or fashion, and you have to come back and do it. And it's very hard to do. A little about Frisco, just to give you some context. Frisco is very similar, but vastly different also. And I'll tell you what both were. It's similar, when I moved there in '92, it was a town of 6,000 people. It was a farm, everyone was related. You learn really quickly you can't talk about somebody because that's somebody's cousin, right? So those are the original. It's like, there you go. So everybody's related, and didn't have any traffic lights. We actually had one. It was a blinking yellow light in the main intersection town. Most of the roads were dirt roads. Couldn't buy a pair of socks in town. And we were in the growth corridor of Dallas, but still just a very small community. We didn't have water. We really didn't have much of a sewer system. We were broke, bankrupt. We didn't really have any money. George Purfoy, who you will get a chance to meet as a whole, I know several of you we've met individually, it was actually on the street with a shovel early on, and the city was a fast-growing city in the U.S. So when I actually was elected to council in the year 2000, it had grown from that 6,000 to 32,000. And then in 2004, 4 short years later, it doubled to 64,000. And in the 2010 census, it was 116,000. 2020 census was over 200,000. So rapidly growing, but the story is the same in that all the needs are the same. Infrastructure, roads, public safety, keeping up with it was really difficult. And so that's what you all are dealing with today. And it can be overwhelming. You look at your water and sewer system, you look at your roads and planning, and no revenue. How do you take care of all that? It's all very expensive. And so what you're doing is the right thing, which is planning it, getting the right people at the table. We had an engineer firm come and speak to the mayor and individuals about what needs to be done. You just talked about the roads. Well, you gotta make sure you have the legal right to grade some of those roads. You have to make sure that you prioritize them, which ones are more important, and that becomes difficult in the community sometimes. So planning is critical. And then moving forward, while you go back and deal with the existing, you move forward and put ordinances in place that future roads and the future expansions are done correctly. So it's really a combination, and you won't be able to do it all at one time. Same with public safety. You all are great. The training is wonderful. FEMA is an amazing organization. Every one of you can go online today and then be in the community and get online training and get certified in certain disaster recovery, disaster training. It's community, policing and community emergency preparedness. But again, I just keep jumping back is sometimes there's a lot of pressure in the community to get it done today. And that's really not viable. It just doesn't work that way. You make progress, planning is critical. What do you get done today? You all are elected, you have a good feel for the community, but you all have to get on the same page. So work sessions become important. Sometimes they're professionally run, so you can get on the same page of what's our short-term plan, what's our long-term plan. Many of the decisions you make today, you won't see. You won't see them for many years, sometimes 30 years, but they're the important decisions. Revenue, getting that all fixed up, getting the processes in place, transparency. The public has a right to see what's taking place. They have to have faith in what's happening and give you the room and the time to go get it done. It's unrealistic, and I bet, I don't know this, but I bet you're getting calls today, why have you not done this today? And the reality is, you probably would have done it wrong if you had moved that quickly. And so, stay the course and figure that out. We're glad to be a resource to you, we're happy to help. You don't have, again, the revenue, without that revenue, it's hard to hire the big companies to help you guide through it, but we've talked to engineering firms that are willing to help. You have an experienced city manager that's willing to help. And the partnerships you have are gonna be key. Weyerhaeuser, ODOT, Choctaw, those are critical. Using one example, they're building a sewer treatment plant. Is there an opportunity there? Before you even discuss that with them, what's your need? What is your output? There's certain federal and state laws that govern, if you're at a certain percentage of capacity, you have to be planning the next one.
Right.
And so what is your capacity? How do you find out what your community needs today? And that's a process, it takes a little time. So you can jump ahead and try to put a deal together, but that deal may not really help you in 2 years, unless you know the capacity. So every item is a complex item for the most part, but planning, moving forward, and staying the course is going to be the key for you all. But again, it's exciting. Let me tell you the positive side. That's all negative, right? It's like, we need all this stuff. Positive side is what you have here today, most cities around the country want or are trying to achieve. And the reason being is cities and towns are limited in their revenue. State law steps in. You always have more needs than you have money to do. There's always more wants by the community, whether it's library, parks, and trails, than you have the ability to do. And eventually your revenue flattens. No matter what you do, it's just not gonna go up much more. But expenses always go up, never flatten. Retirements and healthcare, and the average life of the street is about 40 years, and you're gonna have to tear it up and rebuild that street in 40 years. Taxes go up, services go down. It's a trap every community around the country faces at some point. Well, a lot of communities, Frisco included, we really focused on that. A company does research and development to stay relevant, stay profitable. Whether it's services or products, they're always trying to find new things to do. Well, towns and cities don't have that luxury. You're very limited by law on what you can do. So tourism is the answer sometimes. And in Frisco, that's what we've done. Still growing, not near as what you all have done, but bringing people in town to spend money to create that extra economic development helps provide the core services that you're trying to provide, which is public health, safety, and welfare. Your residents here want good public safety, they want good infrastructure, they want education, they want to feel like they're getting a quality of life in what they do. And those tourism dollars helps you provide that. And that is almost immune to economic downturns, because people coming and spending money. You don't want to, and you want to avoid taxing your local residents as much as possible. They're gonna have to have fees and taxes, but what you're really trying to do is give them high level of services at a very low cost. Everybody wants that fire truck to come if they have a problem or their child is choking. And right now, I think everyone agrees timing is not acceptable for the residents' quality of life and what they care about. So that's things to work towards. So that tourism component, you're very blessed that you're already at the top, and now you're gonna let it rain down and provide those services. Many communities are trying to figure out how to do tourism and how to grow it, because they need to sustain the services they may have. So you're in a good position, you're in a great position. The planning becomes critical and becomes very important to what you're doing out here. So the community support is important. I tell the community, patience. You are gonna see some changes, and you need to stay updated on them, be part of it. You're gonna have committees, parks and rec and libraries and all the things that go with it, because you all can't do it alone. You're volunteers. And I think the community is very thankful that you volunteered, because as you've learned, it takes a lot of time to volunteer. But it's a wonderful way to bring the community together and get on the same page. So with that, I'm a politician, a former politician. I call it a recovering elected official. That's the plan. So I could talk a long time, and I won't, but if you have questions, I'm happy to answer them. Specific questions, general questions, anything I can do, I'm happy to answer. Yes, sir.
What's been drilling through my mind is the dynamic of a town like Frisco comparative to the dynamic of Hochatown. Frisco was a massively expansive area that kind of was fueled by the growth of Dallas and the insurgence of, and I know you guys did a tremendous job of bringing in business from all walks of life and different elements of growth. But I'm curious on your perspective on Hochatown's growth in a tourist direction versus Frisco's was economic. And I know the tourist is economic, but it's a little different because we're growing, cabins are growing. We've got the Choctaw Nation coming in, so we're starting seeing a larger spectrum of businesses coming in. The Choctaw is the largest that we've seen.
Yes.
But that dynamic compared to Frisco, do you see, what kind of pros and cons do you see us dealing with? Because you guys surged and grew in numbers because people were growing from Dallas, and then you guys were bringing in business, negotiating deals. It's a little bit different scenario for us because our demand of and supply of cabins and is really our number one thing. So I'm just curious what you think.
I mean, the answer is yes or no. It's both sides of that. One is, Frisco was small. Again, the basic needs are the same. We didn't have water. We didn't have a good water supply. The city would not have grown without that. George Purfoy was there, and we actually had nearby, all the battles you're having, we had lawsuits. We had a neighboring city, I won't name it, shut off the water, what little water we're getting at, because they wanted a piece of land from Frisco, and we didn't want to give it, but we ultimately blackmailed, and we did it, right? Mm-hmm. The same growth pains that you're experiencing, we went through. It is now much bigger, but the reality is water, sewer, public safety were key. And we did focus a lot on education. We understood that the right workforce, as we grew, involved with education. To give you a perspective, the main school district in our city had 6 schools in 1996. Today they have 72. And the reason I'm telling you that is, Frisco is the fastest growing city in the US, and the school district was by far the fastest growing. It would have been a disaster if the planning and the structure was not already thought of before that hit. And that's the same thing you're dealing with here. You have a lot of tourists coming in. You have to, what do you want to be when you grow up? What do you want to be a build-out? That's really the question. You're here, tourism is great, but it's really the revenue stream to provide a quality of life for your residents. That's your key statement, right?
Yeah.
So that's what the fundamental public safety, health, safety, and welfare. That's your job. And so these are all tools, and you're gonna have a lot of other tools. But very similar, the growing pains, couldn't build enough roads fast enough. We couldn't maintain roads. We couldn't get the water supply up. We had to think, and a lot of what we did was not visible to the public. It just, the size of the water lines, oversizing them, thinking ahead, what are we gonna look like in 20 years? We're gonna do it now and do it again? You know, the sewer lines, the pump stations, the capacity, the agreements, the partnerships. We had similar partnerships, TxDOT, you have ODOT. We had North Texas Municipal Water District, you all have a water district here, or you create your own. All those things are not the pretty things that people see, right? But that's the fundamental reasons of strong, sustainable growth. One of the driving things that we focused on was, besides believing the cities are forever, is sustainability. I'll give you an example. Sometimes somebody comes for a project and it's gonna cost you all some money. One of the first questions that's usually asked, how much is this gonna cost? And I would put to you, that's absolutely the wrong question. The question is, what's the return to the taxpayer, the resident? What's the long-term return? Because it might cost a lot up front, and you'll know if you can afford it, if you have a budget for it. What's the cost in 10 years? You know, so typically in our city, we had, and most cities around the country, you have, your revenue is split into two items. One is debt service. Build a sewer treatment plant, it's really expensive, you don't have cash for that. You're gonna get debt. And so the revenue you collect, you pay part of that debt. The other is maintenance operation, running the city, cleaning the streets, parks and rec, police force. That's your maintenance and operation. And we focused a lot on maintenance operation. Debt was high, because we had to build a lot of things. We knew that would go down eventually. But if we build something today, but it keeps going up in cost to operate in 10 years, 15 years, that'd be terrible on the city. That's why Detroit went bankrupt. You know, the costs kept escalating. If you look at Frisco and using them as an example, the city owns every professional stadium. Now they have Toyota Stadium, which is FC Dallas soccer team. They have the Dallas Cowboys Sports Center. It's a $300 million stadium. We have a AA baseball stadium. We have the Dallas Stars corporate headquarters and arena. All those are city owned. Cost a lot of money. A lot, right?
City owns those?
Those, the city owns all of them.
Really?
Okay, yet the property tax rate in Texas, they use property tax, it's the lowest of any city. Why? Because the return to the taxpayer was worth it. Was really worth it. So it's counterintuitive. We spent a lot of money, you think your tax rates go up. They went down. Okay? And back to the maintenance operation, we knew if we could afford those, so we put those deals together, okay? We don't pay a penny to operate or maintain them. The professionals do. And in return, our taxpayers get use of them. Our kids get educated by the Dallas Cowboys on sports medicine and research and marketing and sales. They play on the same fields. It saves the school district, although they're independent, we approach it like the same taxpayer. Typical high school stadium in Texas, $250,000 to $400,000 a year to operate, every year. Our school districts pay zero to play in those stadiums. So those are public-private partnerships, and that's what you have to look for here. You know, different scale maybe, different, but they're always there. Choctaw Nation, there's potentially, you know, partnership there. Warehouses, there's a partnership there, the outer loop, the loop you're talking about. But those, again, it's not a race. You work towards those, you build trust, you put a plan in place, and then you reach it. So a lot of similarities, some differences in size, of course, now, but it was, I stood in farmland, not office buildings, and now that's changed. You know, I'd have to wash my car every couple of days because of the dust from the dirt roads, right? So, yeah, it's very similar from that perspective.
Didn't you say that George had wasn't he part of the growth of the Stone Bar Mall?
Yeah, so
the
the
negotiating.
mall, George Purifoy was the first and only city manager that the city had. He came in 1987, probably 5,000 people. And again, we were bankrupt, and he retired last year. So he's part of all the major deals, PGA of America, the Dallas Cowboys, but the things you don't see, the water, the sewer, the infrastructure, the public safety, the keeping sometimes arguments, sometimes partnerships with like TxDOT. It's much harder to work with than ODOT, by the way. The ODOT folks we've met have been amazing. You know, we say, God, if I had that in Texas. You know, TxDOT, they were tolling roads, which were annual escalations in Georgetown Plaza. And the taxpayer will never know they're paying less because of him for the next 40 years. Okay, so things like that, the behind the scenes, where you all are at a disadvantage right now is you don't have staff. You don't have people that are employees that are working at this every single day. It's all volunteers, and that's hard. It's very difficult. What I've seen is you all have great heart and you have great experience and knowledge, but you also have families and jobs. And that's really hard to balance that. So you tell me what should we do first? Well, you know, water, sewer. You need, you know, employees to get some of this stuff done. So you can't think about it that way. It's everything. And planning is number one, and two is the old adage, you know, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. You do what you can do right away. What's the most critical path? Again, the roads, before you start grading them, what's your priority? Who owns them? You know, how about culverts? How about also working at the same time on an ordinance for anything built from now on has certain standards? Who's doing that? You guys can't do that. That's any one of those items is time consuming by itself. So, you know, it's just cheap. I joke about it. We're doing $100, $200 million deals in Frisco. Tonight, their council's voting on Universal Studios. Very controversial, by the way. They're arguing right now, so I'm glad I'm not back there watching them. But the dollars are big. But our first economic development deal in the city of Frisco was a fire hydrant for $20,000 for a restaurant. So we first recognized what our revenue streams were. And in Texas, property tax and sales tax. Excise tax is usually cars and, you know, and sin things, cigarettes and all that. Sales tax is a revenue stream for Texas cities, just like it is here. And so the first thing we did is, how do we strengthen that? You know, a lot of cities in Texas don't want to do retail. They want these big companies, but you can't attract them until you have a strong financial base, a sustainable financial base. And so we built that base first. It was painful, but we had to focus on what our revenue streams were to strengthen them so we could provide those opportunities to get them into town. So, anyway, tell you I'm long-winded.
Yeah, that's good, thank you.
Well, I'm glad George didn't get to come, but I'm glad that Mayor did get to visit with I wish we'd had more citizens here tonight, because we've had many, many hours of discussions. We've talked to engineers, we've talked to the city manager. So it's great to have their expertise and their experience to give us ideas of what we need to do and where we need to go. So,
Oh, help we can get.
that's what I said, we're gonna take all the help we can get, so this has been fun. Okay, anything else unforeseen at this time? If not, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion with adjourn.
I second.
We have a motion by Howard, a second by Todd, adjourn at 6:32.
Roll call vote? We have a roll call vote to adjourn this meeting. Janet Kress,
Yes.
Howard Haggard,
Yes.
Diane Jordan,
Yes.
Todd McDaniel,
Yes.
Chad Sargent.
Yes.
Motion carries to adjourn the meeting at 6:21.
I love our little rap.
About as country as you can get, Diane.
That's
My
right.
God.
We don't
I
try
guess
to
you
pretend
picked-
to be
I guess
anything
you
we're
picked
not.
that up in the woods today.
I found this in my yard, in my yard. Found this in my yard.
Oh, I'm gonna have to write it.
What?
She's trying
Not
to.
showing me, sorry.
I'm a dirt bike rider, so I'm riding all the time.